Welcome to my review of the Power Core Combiners Grimstone with the Dinobots. And by far this is the best Power Core Combiner set so far. I realize some people don't like the fact that the drones don't transform into robots, and I can understand that. But what fascinates me about the Power Core Combiners is the mechanical engineering behind them, the way that the drones transform into the limbs, the arms and the legs, and just the mechanical detail behind that. So let's take a look at the first drone here. This is probably my least favorite. He's the Spinosaurus. And I have to say, one of the things that Hasbro got right with these Power Core Combiners, and not just this set but other Power Core Combiners as well, is they do a great job with the paint applications. Very striking colors, and there's not really any runoff or paint errors. So it's a fantastic figure in that way. Articulation wise, his jaw can open, as you can see, and his tail can articulate up. And it's probably my least favorite because it looks like he's just crawling along on his belly, so I'm not really crazy about that. And as I'm showing you these drones, I want to show you the mechanics behind him. So I'm going to give you a preview of what's going to happen when this turns into a limb. There's the combining hole, and what's going to happen when you put the post into the hole, it'll actuate out like this. And you can see some of the mechanical detail. Even the parts inside are detailed, as you can see. It's got some plastic detail molding, which is very nice. Some very nice attention to detail. So there's the Spinosaurus. Next up, this is the Ankylosaurus. One of my favorites, I have to say. Very vibrant metallic gold, silver as well on the tip here. Very fantastic. I love the fact that they have the weapons here. You can see them. And the Autobot logo is there. I kind of like finding the Autobot logos on these drones. It's kind of fun to see where they put them. And as far as the mechanical detail, once you activate this drone, you can see here it's going to go out like that, and you can see there's once again there's detail there in the plastic. So that is fantastic. I like this guy here. He's kind of an odd creature. This guy is called the Pachycephalosaurus. And one of the things I really like about him is this chrome dome, and as you can see it has the Autobot logo on there. The chrome dome reminds me of like a Frankenstein monster, like they took out his brain and replaced it with something else, and they had to cover up the top of his skull, so they gave him a metal chrome dome. I find that kind of cute. I like that. So, got silver weapons here, some gold accents. Very nice. As far as the mechanical detail with this guy, well, this is going to come out here, as you can see. It's going to actuate like that, and then the tail is going to come up, and this will become one of the legs. Here's the foot for the leg. This will be kind of like the balancing point to keep the figure from falling over, and the combining post is right there. So just a little preview of what's going to happen once these guys combine with their commander. And this guy here is called the Parasaurolophus. I'm not pronouncing that right, but once again, a really nice figure. Arms are on a ball joint, and they can actually articulate. There's the combining post, or not post, but hole where you put the combining post in for the combining mode. Very nice weapons, probably one of the best weapons here. And again, fantastic detail in the plastic molding. Very nice. There is the Autobot logo on his head there. Fantastic silver tail. I really like that. And silver feet. So let's take a look at the transformation, or the gimmick. What's going to happen, you'll insert the post in there, and then this will go out like that, so you can see there's detail there. But also what happens is these legs come apart like that, as you can see. And this will be the left hand and claw for the combined mode. And last but certainly not least, this is the commander figure. This figure is able to transform into a robot. It has a robot mode. There is the Autobot logo. Once again, fantastic paint applications. Gold, silver, a little bit of red that's kind of worn there, but very nice. And as usual, These are the combining posts that insert into the drones. And yes, if you haven't seen a Power Core Combiner review before, these are the posts, and they stand out pretty well. On this figure here, I'm probably going to paint this combining post so that it doesn't stand out so much. It really bothers me on this particular set because these are so nicely detailed otherwise. So there is the Triceratops. Now all these, the drones as well as the commander figure, they can accept minicons. This is the minicon port here, and in this case on the Spinosaurus it's right here. So I brought in the Chopster minicon here in his gun mode. This Chopster is partnered with Smolder, which I did a review on. But anyways, this is the minicon which can attach to these posts on each of the figures. So you just insert them in there. And now the Triceratops or Grimstone has a little weapon for facing the rear, so it's kind of cool. And I thought it was appropriate that this be, flame colored or lava colored, since we're talking about dinosaurs. Once again, the Spinosaurus fails to meet my expectations because really what can you do with the minicon but attach him to the end like that, I guess. Or I guess if you move his tail up like that, well, that doesn't look so bad. If you have his tail up like that, like doo-doo-doo. So you have that option there. Here's where it really makes sense to have it on the top of this drone right here, so you can see maximum firepower, and of course it has 180-degree rotation because there's nothing preventing it from rotating around. And on this guy, fits in pretty well as well on his back. Fire straight up in the air, I guess. That's pretty cool. So this particular minicon does work out pretty well with these Dinobots. Now you can attach it to either this side here. There's one over here and one here, but you can put it on the side. And I suppose if you wanted to get really fancy, you could find another minicon from the Power Core Combiner set and attach them to this side. And wow, this is actually the best armed one so far, as you can see. Alright, so let's take a look at the transformation of the commander figure, which is Grimstone. Let's take a look at the transformation for him into robot mode. Alright, let's go ahead and transform Grimstone into his robot mode. The first thing I like to do is get the tail out of the way. So just rotate the tail back against the belly like so. Then take care of the legs, rotate them down. And then what you want to do is bring out this red piece, which is the heel section of the foot. And then just to make these combining posts more, I'd say less obvious, I guess, push them down like that, kind of make them so they're not so apparent that they're combining posts, even though they're brightly colored blue. You can't really get around that. And then what you want to do is you want to take the legs and rotate them around. Because this is going to be the front of Grimstone in his robot mode. Next thing you want to do, you want to take this section here, split it apart, and it splits apart at the bottom there too. It's all attached, and these become the arms. And back here, what you're going to do is rotate these down, and these will just be stored in the back for robot mode. So rotate them back, like so. And then what I guess what they tell you to do is rotate the pegs back so that they're facing towards the back. Once again, so they're not so apparent from the front. Like that, and then to make sure they're together, and you should have the back looking like that. And as for the front, bring down this head here, this gold head, and rotate it down. It becomes the chest. And one final thing you might want to do is you want to rotate this back, because as you can see there's kind of a indentation in this silver piece here, so you want to rotate that back so you don't see that, like that. And here is Grimstone in his robot mode, and looking pretty good. The arms don't have a lot of movement because you've got a lot of this stuff in the back kind of getting in the way, and I would say the arms are also kind of the weakest point. They're kind of, not very detailed, I guess is what the word would be. But it's alright. You know, this is a power core combiner. You don't expect a whole lot of detail. Articulation, you got rotation at the head, movement at the shoulders, ball jointed elbows. There is no waist articulation. You've got movement at the legs, as you can see, swivel at the thigh area, bend at the knee, and that's really it for the articulation. As far as the size of this guy, let's just go ahead and compare him to a Scout class Transformer. Here he is next to the Scout class Transformer. You can see he's shorter, but just about in scale, I guess, with these Scout class figures. Moving on, here is him next to a Star Wars The Clone Wars figure, as you can see there, just to give you an idea of the size. And finally, for Mobile Suit and Action Gundam fans, here he is next to this guy here. Okay, so let's get this guy transformed into his power-up commander mode so that he can be combined with the other drones. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the legs. And what you want to do with the legs is you're actually going to fold the legs forward, like so. And then you're going to take this piece and put it back inside that recessed area. And there you got one leg. You can see the combining post is straight down, ready to be inserted into a drone. Do the same thing up here. And you've got the legs taken care of. So what you're going to do with the rest of the body is you're going to sort of half transform it back into the Triceratops mode. So you want to take this and rotate it up for now. These two sections will come back together, as you can see. So you're kind of like I said, you're kind of like forming the Triceratops mode again. And you're just going to peg these two things together so that they're back connected to each other. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take care of the dramatic head reveal. So you see the face there. It's kind of on a double hinge, so you want to rotate it back like that, and you have the head looking like this. Alright, so as for the arms, what you're going to do, you're going to take this, rotate it up, and it actually, there is a red post there that's going to insert into a slot and give the arm extra strength so that when you combine it, it's not going to flop around, or hopefully it won't flop around anyways. Do the same thing over here. Let's look at it from a different way, rotate it back, and as you can see, insert the post into the slot like that. And it does stay pretty securely, unlike some other ones, some other Power Core Combiner sets. This actually is pretty secure. Alright, so let's go ahead and combine Grimstone with his drone counterparts. This is going to be the left leg, and all you need to do is you actually have to do this manually. There's no special mechanism that actually actuates these, but you have to rotate this back like this and rotate the head forward like that. So it's going to sit on the ground pretty much like that. So what I do to cheat, as I pull this out here, and as you can see, as I'm pulling it out, it's going to create a nice hole there, which should be able to accept the combining post just nicely, like so. And it's cheating, and it really defeats the purpose of the automorph feature, but it saves me a lot of frustration. So as you can see, I do the same thing with this guy. I get it started just a little bit because it's really awkward to get it the combining post in at this angle. It just doesn't work that well. So I usually get this started. So pull the head down a little bit and get it to the point where you at least can have it accessible, have the hole accessible to the peg, and then hopefully things will go a little easier that way. And finally, here is a look at the legs attached to Grimstone. And as with all other Power Core Combiners that I have, the legs are the hardest to attach. And yes, there are other reviews where people can do it on camera. However, just to save myself time and frustration, I cheated by moving this piece down and allowing the combining post to more easily fit into the slot there. But you can see it's a nice result, but I don't see how kids are going to be having fun with this because it's a pain in the butt to get these legs attached. At long last, here is Grimstone combined with his Dinobot drones. And like I said at the beginning of the review, this is the best looking combiner of the Power Core combiner sets so far. And one problem that unfortunately is a big problem is, see how there's this joint here? It's basically a metal pin surrounded by plastic, and it's unfortunately at a key location because it's at the point where you right next to the combining posts. So as a result of using a lot of force to get the combining post into the hole here, I think this is wearing out. The figure is very loosey-goosey, as you can see. Yeah, very unfortunate. They should have made this so that it was like metal on metal. It would have been a lot stiffer, but I would have much preferred that than this setup here. But overall, it looks very nice, even from the back. I mean, it looks great. And the way that they have the reds with the grays really, to me, evokes a Generation 1 feel to it, a Generation 1 Dinobot feel. So they did an exceptional job with that. Here we have Grimstone and the Dinobots next to Bombshock and the Combaticons and Skyburst and the Aerial Bots. And I think that the Dinobots really stand out. I mean, the gold and the silver paint apps are exceptional. If you take a look at the figure from the side, it's much more bulkier looking as compared to here. In this case, you can see there's Bombshock from the side, really thin looking, which is one of the complaints I had about it. You know, this is supposed to be, you know, a militarized combiner. It's supposed to be, in my mind, bulky and so forth. And that's really where the Dinobots really stand out. I like the fact that everything is really bulky, really big and menacing. So here is just a fun look at the Power Core Combiners Grimstone with the Dinobots next to the original Generation 1 Transformers Dinobots. And I hope you can see the colors here, because as I stated earlier, the red and the gray really reminds me of the Generation 1 color combinations. You can see here red and gray, you know, red and gray, red and gray, and so forth. And of course you got the nice chrome silver and gold with the Generation 1 figures, and you have similar gold and silver paint apps here on the Power Core Combiners. So final thoughts on the Power Core Combiners Grimstone with the Dinobots. Well, as I've stated numerous times during this review, these are by far the best Power Core Combiners. And just the way that they have attention to detail in terms of the colors with the silver and gold paint apps, as well as the gray and red color combination, which of course is a throwback to the Generation 1 Dinobots, as we saw. The plastic molding details in the drones is exceptionally detailed, even though they don't transform. They are very nice to look at, I have to say. And the mechanisms that they use to transform into the limbs is quite fascinating to me. So the cons of this figure, well, the cons are that it suffers from the same problems as the previous Power Core Combiners do. It's extremely frustrating and annoying to get the combining post into the leg drones, and it's the same thing with the other previous versions of the Power Core Combiners. And added on to the fact that you've got this metal core or metal pin that's surrounded by plastic, so they really should have made it like a metal pin surrounded by more metal, something like that, to make it a little more stiff and less prone to wear over time. Well, if it's not obvious by now, if you're only going to get one Power Core Combiner, I suggest and highly recommend you get this particular Power Core Combiner. It's the best of the lot, and while it does suffer from the faults of the original ones, it still is a fantastic figure and still a recommended figure, and even more so for the fact that they've reduced the price from $20 to $15 may entice you to get your first Power Core Combiner. And if it's your first, I suggest you get Grimstone with the Dinobots. Thanks for watching. Attention Hasbro, here is your next challenge. I want you to take all 5 of the original Dinobots, update them, and release them as Transformers Generations toys But not only that, wait, there's more. I want you to make them all combine into one big freaking combiner. That's right. Make it so, Hasbro. Make it so.